I had a great coaching call this week, and someone asked the question, what would current Lisa have told her earlier version of herself, Lisa, when she was just getting started in the business? And I thought, that is a great topic for a video. So stick around if you want to hear what I would teach my younger version of myself just getting started in the business. Hi, Lisa Lloyd here with more tips, tricks, and strategies to help you optimize and accelerate your invention licensing business success. If you like what you learned here today, please hit that like and subscribe button and tell your friends about it. Help me get the word out. This is a free way to support me doing this. And when you do help get the word out, it helps me bring you more free videos like this. So I really had to think about it for a moment. What would I have told young Lisa? And the first thing that comes to mind absolutely would be, don't even bother trying to manufacture and sell and build a huge company, which was this big dream of mine. But instead, do something called licensing. So licensing is still being an inventor, but it is getting it just through the front end of the innovation, which is the ideation, the validation, so the research and the development that has to go on during that whole front end up to the point of then developing, protecting it, and then handing it off to a company who makes it and sells it and ultimately just pays you a royalty. Now, with my first product, I manufactured and sold it. At the time, I didn't know what licensing was. I hadn't even heard of it. And maybe that's you. Maybe this is the first time you've heard of it too. And I bought a book, and the book talked about licensing as kind of maybe a backup plan for me. So when another competitor came out and all of a sudden I had no choice, but if I wanted to go national fast, I needed to license because I certainly didn't have the money to do it any other way. So my backup plan being to license, I went ahead and called on some companies, and ultimately I did license it to Scunsy. And that product went on to pay me $60,000 a year for about 10 years, I think, is how long that lasted. Crazy. I don't know. I've never really done the math. At any rate, it was a lot of money. And when I started, I was only 23. Wow, I can't talk tonight. 23 years old. That was a big deal. That was a lot of money. My job only made $13,000 a year. And the best part of all was I didn't have to work for it. It was passive income. So I thought, oh my God, I love this. I want to do it again. The other thing that happened, and I learned as a result of licensing, was that as I had new ideas and I wanted to go about inventing more products and doubling down on this whole licensing thing, it's a lot harder if you're going to continue to create new products that are in different categories, if not impossible, for you to start multiple companies for each of those types of companies, especially if you're going from a business to business type product, like a medical device, versus a retail consumer product like a hair accessory. Big difference, lots of learning curves, lots of time involved, and certainly a lot more investment to do that. So licensing just made a whole lot more sense for me because as I continued to have more ideas, I could license them to different companies. And in the moments where I had the same or a similar idea for a product in a category that I had already licensed, like hair accessories, it made it that much easier for me to go back and license again and again and again to those companies. Not to mention, even when I switched to a different company from the companies I had already licensed to, they knew me. I had a reputation in the business for having been successful with these other products. So it was very easy for me to get anybody to hear my pitch. So licensing, definitely I would have told myself from the very beginning, just license it. Don't bother with all this manufacturing and sales stuff. It was such a pain. However, having said that, it was a good test. It was a good experiment, and it was a great way for me to learn not only about the business, but whether or not there was a demand for my product. And as a beginner, there was no other way I could have known that. So that kind of brings me to the second thing I would tell myself. And that is, on the front end, do more research than just your market research and your patent research. There's consumer research that can help you build not only a better solution so that you haven't just designed a solution to solve, scratch your own itch, but you've identified how other people experience the same problem. And now when you invent it, you can bake into your recipe for that invention all of the things that you have considered from those conversations as well. So consumer insights, consumer research, big, big, big deal. And I'm not talking about focus groups where you show them your solution and say, what would you pay for this? And maybe there's a time for that later, but I'm talking about before you even build a product. The same time that you're doing your patent research and you're doing your market research, which is the competitive landscape to see who else is selling similar products, what's out there, what do they sell for, what price points. That's all good data so that when you go to invent, you can invent something that competes well. But the question is there a market or a demand for another doohickey? Anyway, just because you've identified something that was maybe missing in this competitive landscape doesn't mean that there are enough other people that will also demand a solution to that problem as well. So this is where it's just a lot of fun. And I know this is especially hard for folks like me who have ADHD and just want to kind of cut to the chase. But like my dad said, measure twice, cut once. And the metaphor there is if you take the time to measure twice, you won't waste a lot of money on materials and go over budget if you're doing a carpentry type of work. Measuring twice and cutting once is akin to taking the time to make sure that there's a big enough demand, there's a big enough market, and the patentability, if that's important to you, are all lined up so that you don't waste a lot of time later trying to bang down doors and frustrated, or even worse, in my opinion, you finally get the call, but you don't have the conviction or the data to support why you're doing what you're doing, and it's a lot harder to sell that way. If you have all the data to support it, not to mention just your pure passion and your conviction that will shine through because of those conversations, it'll give you what you need to get through the hard days. So spend more time on the front end and the back end will take care of itself. It becomes a lot quicker and easier to license. Another thing that I would tell myself is to treat every product like an even bigger opportunity. So when I was licensing one of my products, for example, Scuncy offered me a job as Vice President of Business Development, and I was in the position of being the person you would submit your products to. So I was on that side of the desk. If you wanted to license, that was my job. And it was an incredible opportunity. And then I had other offers from Goody, Newell Rubbermaid, to come in and do some consulting work with them. And I had lots of other opportunities with companies who have asked me to come in and do front-end innovation and various project basis type products. That wouldn't have happened if I only saw each deal as the deal that I was working on right then. I was in the moment and entirely focused on my product, but I was also very much aware that I was building relationships with everybody that I was talking to all the time. So even if their answer was no, I was going to learn why so that I could get better, not so that I could talk them into it. Although I did try, and I didn't hear no, but I wanted the opportunity to learn more about what was working, what wasn't, and why, because I had a phrase, no doesn't mean no, just not that way. And if it meant that I wanted to work with a company and they weren't going to do something with me maybe on this product, maybe there was another product I could come back with, or maybe I could go fix this product, or maybe there was another opportunity to work together in some other capacity, or maybe later, 6 months, 6 years, whatever down the road, they're going to offer me a job, which is exactly what happened at Scuncy. So you never know what's really happening. There's always something bigger and more magnificent, I think, than we realize is even going on in our lives on a moment by moment basis anyway. But when you meet these companies, just remember that your product is bigger. It's a bigger opportunity than just the product. So don't pin all your hopes and dreams and everything on getting that deal done. You'll be a lot less nervous. You'll be building rapport and relationships with people and having a lot more fun in the process. So there you go. I hope that you found that helpful. If you like what you heard today, please hit the like and subscribe button and share this video with your friends. It helps me get the word out. In the meantime, dare to dream and imagine what's possible when powered by innovation.